Good afternoon and welcome a little bit earlier on this Thursday, bright, sunny, warm Thursday, live from the lily pad to do a little bit of crafting. And again, we're going to be using the Noble Peacock suite, so look away if you do have a peacock phobia. I've had to put the fan back on. I'd got the windows and the doors open, but there was a toddler next door having a little bit of a paddy and a jet plane going over, and I thought, oh well, let's shut the windows and the door, put the fan back on. So I'm hanging on to my catalogue as it flaps. Hopefully nothing will fly away, and we'll have a little bit of a play. Now obviously this evening I've got my bingo night this evening, and that starts at 7:30, so hence we've brought this one forward by half an hour. And I am on a bit of a time scale, so we'll see how we get on. And I've had a very busy day today, preparing for my bingo night tonight, and chatting with the lady that's busy developing, improving my website, so that's not looking too far away before we will be able to launch that. So that's all very exciting. So an exciting and productive day. Still lots on my to-do list, but got a few things done, which is good stuff. So time for a bit of crafting, I think. If you don't know who I am, my name is Helen Jennings. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator based here in the UK, in the very sunny UK at the moment. And I've been a demonstrator now for 5.5+ years, and it is always my pleasure to come and to show you the beautiful products that we've got and some of the lovely things that you could do with them. Now I haven't actually got any. Here's one we've done earlier today. These are going to be completely off the hoof, so we will see what happens. Now in front of me I have the catalogue opened up on the page that has this beautiful Noble Peacock suite with the gorgeous papers and foils and pretty sparkly things, stamp sets, dies, embossing folders, lots of gorgeousness on this page, and we're going to be using some of it in a moment. This is the card that we created on Monday. We cased the catalogue on Monday morning and we made this beautiful card with all the shiny foils and things on. Hello Sheila, lovely to see you joining us. So this was our card from Monday morning. This is the card, one of the cards that's currently in the selection at the Tesco group, the Crafty and Chat Tesco group that happens every Monday afternoon. So this is one of their choices of things that they can make for this month. So they have some Peacock delight going on at Tesco's this month. But we're going to make a couple of different cards today. Actually, we're not. I tell you a fib. We're going to make one card and we're going to decorate a pizza box. So that is the plan for this next half an hour, 3/4 of an hour or so. So let's have a delve into the boxes I've got. So while I'm digging around and finding the bits and pieces, as I said, we've got the bingo night going on this evening. If you do still want to come and join us for that, we can find space around the table. It's a good fun night. We play 3 games of bingo, we create 3 projects, and this time the theme for this one, being as it is July the 4th, is Independence Day. Obviously not something that we celebrate here in the UK, but we can have some fun with some red, white and blue along with the best of them. So that is the plan for this evening. We're going to be doing that, and got some sort of American themed-ish snacks. We've got some drink, some soft drinks that we can enjoy. So hopefully a good fun evening ahead. So that's this evening, and then that is all of the classes that are going on this week. But obviously there's always things coming up, stamper stacks and technique classes, and so do check out the events page on my Facebook page to see all the loveliness that is coming up. And if you would like a class of your own, if you would like a private event with a group of friends, or a more traditional party, then do get in touch, because we can always arrange that as well. Right, this is one of our pizza boxes, and they come already scored, and I don't know if you can pick that up, but they're all shiny on the inside. That's because they are in fact food safe. So all you need to do with them is you just need to fold them up. This bit here folds all the way round, tucks over the top of that flap and tucks in there to secure that, and then fold in these side flaps, they tuck in there. So there you have your little tiny pizza box, and these will fit the 3x3 size cards. So we do sell 3x3 envelopes, packs of 3x3 envelopes. You can make up yourself up some 3" by 3" card blanks, and you can make that into a little gift box. Equally, as it is Independence Day, you could make yourself a nice big American style chocolate chip cookie that you could give to somebody. I've got my drink. I've got a nice pink one today. Look at that. We've got some cranberry lemonade today. We're being a bit posh. So we have a pizza box that we've made up, but that's a bit plain and boring, isn't it? So what we need to do is we need to decorate that. So I have some bits and pieces here. I have some ideas in my head. Let's see what happens when we attempt to take those ideas out of my head and execute them. Right, so I have cut a piece of this beautiful foil. Now this is the specialty DSP that goes with this Peacock suite. It is actually card. It is only single-sided. Lots of our papers are they're normally double-sided. This is only single-sided, but then it's got such gorgeous foil on one side that it wouldn't matter what they put on the back. You wouldn't want to use it, would you? So it would be silly to print it. So as I say, it is cardstock. You could use this to make boxes and things. Let's see now. One of these glues is being a bit temperamental. It feels as if it's got plenty in it, but that's where it wants to stay, in it. It doesn't want to come out of it. So I think I'm going to need to go at it with a pin or something, or take it apart. So let's try that one's better. That one wants to play with us. We'll put a bit of Tombow on the back of there, and we're going to stick this piece of foil on the lid just there. So I've actually cut that, so it is actually 8 centimeters square, she says, hopefully. Let me just get my ruler out and check that. Yes, it was, well remembered. 8 centimeters square. And these, I've done some little strips of foil here, and these are all 8 centimeters long by 2 centimeters wide, and these are going to go onto our side just here. But before we did that, we would actually emboss them. Now I could have got the embossing folder that goes with the suite. That might even have been slightly logical, but who wants to be logical? I've actually picked up this swirls and curls embossing folder. I thought it sort of was quite sort of reminiscent of the feathers on the peacock. So I thought that would be quite apt. The folder that actually goes with the suite is sort of like almost like the eyes in the feathers of the peacock, but this is just more like swirly feathers. So I'm just going to lay all those 4 pieces of foil in that embossing folder, and we will bring in my die cutting machine and sort out our sandwiches so that we have the right sandwich. Now this is just a standard embossing folder, it's not one of the 3D ones. So we just want to take out our thin die adapter, and we need our 2 plastic plates. And we will run that through. And look at that. We have some beautiful swirly, curly foil stock. Now this foil is one of the 3 colours that you get. So this is the pack, the designer, oh sorry, I'm knocking the camera. This is the designer series pack with the papers in, so that card come paper, and those beautiful foiled designs on there. And in the same 3 colourways, we have this pack of coloured foil. So again, the blueberry bushel, the pretty peacock and the old olive are the 3 colours that they've picked out in that designer series paper and that foil. So obviously they go beautifully together. So we've got the pretty peacock foiling on our card on the top, and we picked up the pretty peacock foil for the pieces on the side. So let's stick those on. It's so warm in here that this glue is extra specially runny. One. Although this isn't a 3D embossing folder, you do get a really deep embossed image with it. 2. 3. And last but by no means least, number 4. So there we have our pretty foiling on the top and our foiling on the side. And then I thought we'd want a bit of something to go on the top. So what I've got here is I've got 3 sponges and 3 ink pads. So I picked up the blueberry bushel and the pretty peacock, which are 2 of the colours that they've picked out with the foils and things, and a little bit of rich raspberry just for good measure. Now let's open up these pads. This is an old style one, so we'll have to flip that one. Okay, so let's start with some blueberry bushel, and I've got some shimmery white cardstock here. And I'm just going to sponge onto here with some of this colour. I could have used a sponge brayer, I could have used the daubers. Right, then we'll come in with some pretty peacock, which is a much greener shade. And as we're on the shimmery white cardstock, you don't get, it's not a completely smooth finish, but I'm not worried about that actually. I want it to be sort of a little bit almost texturized, and then we'll just add in a little bit of rich raspberry. Right, so having coloured that piece of cardstock, I'm now going to take this die. Now this die is a feather die, it's rather beautiful. And we're going to die cut some feathers. Actually, before we do that, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some shimmer paint that I've got in this spritzer bottle, mixed up with some rubbing alcohol, and I'm going to spray some of that onto this card. So that will actually activate the ink a little bit, but hopefully as it dries, and it's not always easy to see in the light, but we'll be able to get, we should get a little bit of shimmer on that, as well as those pretty blended colours. So let me, while that's just drying off, give my mat a bit of a wipe with my Simply Chamois. I'll move some of these sponges out of the way. That's not feeling too bad. That's not too damp now. Right, so because we're die cutting, we're going to need to put back in our thin die adapter. Need our piece of cardstock and our feather. Now then, let's see, do we want the hint of purple at the bottom or at the top? Let's go with at the top of the feather, I think. So we'll put our feather in that way. And run that through. We'll run it back just for good measure. It brings it back the right side of the and we'll give that a wiggle. Obviously this cardstock is a tiny bit damp. What did we do with that pokey tool? There it is. Let's poke out those little landlock inner bits. There. How's that? Just a little hint of purple right at the end there. But there's one feather. Say, where's that die gone? It was here just now. I'm going to bring this one down a bit further, see if we can get a bit more purple in this one. And a bit of a wiggle. My laptop has gone to sleep. Must be the heat. It's worn it out. There we go. That one's definitely got a little bit more purple on the end there. And then one more for luck. You have to do these things in threes. I'm going to bring it down here because that's quite a bit more of a solid colour down there. And again, just poke out those little landlocked pieces. Let's move this big shot to one side while we have a little look. Right, I'm just seeing if I can bring my laptop back to life. Right, so we have 3 little feathers there. We have some of our this double-sided reversible ribbon, which is rather beautiful, that we can use in a minute to tie around our box. So let's attach some of these feathers to this box. Now this is going to be a question of just little spots. Seen another little bit that's still attached that shouldn't be there. Come on out. As I say, this glue is really particularly runny. just dab a little bit of that excess glue off. Spot, spot, spot. It's very Mary Poppins-ish, isn't it? Spit, spot. And last but not least, our final feather. I think we will take some of our gems. These are absolutely stunning, these gems. Obviously gorgeous for your peacocks, but gorgeous for lots of other things as well. Let's have a look. I think that's one of these sort of more medium sized ones, and we'll just pop a little gem our feather. Now, I don't really want to tie that all the way around, so I think we'll just have a bow on the top. Do love these reversible ribbons. This one is Pretty Peacock and oh, there's a mind gone blank. Old Olive. That was away with the fairies for a minute. And we will find a little glue dot. Add our bow to our box, and then we'll just have a little sentiment on there as well. A lot of the sentiments in here are all about sort of being really proud of you. So very proud of you, you did it, you are incredible. Let's have a look. You are incredible. And I think what we'll do with this is we'll find a block. And we'll go back to our piece of sponged card and find a section that would be quite nice just to pick up that greeting. So I'm going to use Stays On just because I have sort of been adding water and things, spritzing this piece of cardstock, so just in case it is still a little bit damp, the Stays On will cope better with that. And just use my foam mat underneath. You are incredible. And let's just snip round that. And I think we'll have a couple of little foam dots on the back of that, just to raise it up. As always with these videos, whether you're watching it live or whether you're coming in at a later time, do comment, do say hello, do share, do let me know what you think, do ask questions. It's lovely to have you reacting and chatting. And so there we are, a pretty little box with that shimmer's not picking up ever so well in this light, but the best time actually to pick it up is when you put the lights on in the evening, and then it really does pick it up. So we've got those nice pretty sponged shimmery feathers on the top with their little jewels in, bit of a bow going on, and our beautiful foiling round the edge. So just a pretty little box transformed with our peacock. That's rather pretty, isn't it? Almost want to try and cut some of those out and use it as a some form of background or something. That goes to show that even the scrap bits of paper that are left behind can be beautiful. Right, okay, so that's our box, but we have also got a card that we're going to play with using some of the other dies and things out of this set. Let me grab these out. This is, as I say, the stamp set. You've got this stunning peacock, which is what we used to stamp with on Monday, and is what also we've used to stamp with just here. And you've got both the big solid peacock image and then this sort of secondary piece that you can use, like I have here, to add in some gold foiling, or can even use it like we have here as a bit of a background. So really nice stamps. You've got these sort of additional feathers and flowers. There is a little die that cuts those flowers out, so really pretty, and say all the sentiments are sort of talking about being proud of you and how incredible you are. So great little things for, if you know, particularly this sort of time of year, graduations, exam results, all of those sorts of occasions, they're perfect for. So but this next card, we're going to do a card this time, we're going to use some of the dies, or one of the dies, because there's also, as well as there being a big stamped image, there is also a big detailed die image. Now, I've not actually cut this yet to know what it's going to look like. You have your die that cuts out your stamped image. You have these 3 of these little sort of foliage pieces. We're going to be using some of those in a minute. And as I say, you've got the little dies that cut out that sort of flourish of flowers, and you've got 2 of those, so that's really useful because it means you can stamp quite a few of those and cut 2 out at a time rather than only doing them 1 at a time. So that does make it much easier if you wanted to make up a wreath or something with them, or a floral arrangement. So what I've got here so far is I have got a card blank made out of old olive card, and as always, these C6 card blanks, you take a piece of A4 card, you cut it in half at 14.9 centimetres, and you score it down the middle at 10.5, and that gives you your card blank. And here I've got a piece of black card that measures 14.4 by 10 centimetres, and what I've done with this one is I have taken one of those beautiful stitched frame shapes from that suite, that set that goes with the bird suite, ballad suite. I've actually popped it back in my box because that's one that I'm taking with me to the bingo this evening, and I don't want to go without it, so I thought, well, I'll die cut it and I'll put it back in the box. I've got a big note along with my bits ready to go, not to forget the ink pad, because the blueberry bushel ink pad needs to go with me as well. So that's what I've done, I've die cut it. So here I have a gorgeous black stitched label that I'm going to carefully put to one side, because I'm sure that at some point in the future I shall find a good use for that. But for now I just wanted a frame. I wanted a frame for my peacock. So that's the really lovely thing about these dies. So again, my die and my frame is stitched. It's got a stitched edge round here because those dies have double stitching. They leave stitching in the piece that it's come, the frame has come out of, and you also get stitching around your label. So the stitched labels, you get a stitched label and you get a stitched frame. So we're going to use a stitched frame here in this black. So we will put that to one side in a minute. I've got another piece of shimmer white card, and I've got some of the gorgeous foil. It's beautiful, isn't it? So that's the old olive foil, and we shall use that in a minute. But first of all, I'm going to take an aqua painter and I'm going to put some water on my piece of shimmery white card, because this time I'm still just going to add in some random colour, but this time I'm going to do it watercoloured rather than with sponges. So let's give that a squeeze. I'm going to add in some blueberry bushel. Where did my Simply Chamois go? I always have to lose something, don't I? Oh, here it is, look, just here. So let's use that just to clean this brush up a little bit, because I want to then go in with some Pretty Peacock. And I don't mind that this is merging in together. In fact, I really want it to. And then this time I'm going to add in a bit of crushed curry. Let's add some of that in randomly around and about the place. You can see where the water finished when I'd put the water down on the cardstock earlier. We'll come in with a bit more Pretty Peacock. Okay, so that's just a very random watercoloured piece of background. Let's shut these pads up for now. And I'm actually going to give that a quick blast with my heat gun just to dry it off. Let's take the sponge mat out from underneath. That's never a good idea to add heat to your sponge mats. They don't like it. So let's just give this a bit of a blast. It's pretty dry. So then let's bring back in our big shot. And again, it's got all its plates ready to do some die cutting. Or it will have in a minute. And we're going to die cut. Oh, just picked up a sparkly gem. Let's put that one back. We don't want to waste sparkly gems. Let's see, we want some of that yellow, a bit of that blue. About like that, I think. This is another one that, as I say, I've not yet cut these. I haven't cut the feathers either. So this is a first run through with these. They are really beautiful. Now, as always, you can tell whether it's cut just by turning it over. Yep, that looks as if that's cut beautifully. So let's pull this out. Now somewhere, I wonder if I can see it. I did have delivery yesterday. Here it is. Of my new attachment for my tool. So for my pickup tool, I have now, if I can find my pickup tool, that was here just now because we were poking things out with it. Here it is. So if I take the end out of there, oh no, it's this end. So I need to unscrew that from that end and screw this in. Now, hello Bonnie. I now have a die brush, and along with your die brush you get 2 foam mats. So let's turn this over and give this a bit of a brush. Look at that. First time I've used this as well. Exciting, isn't it? New products. So it may be that we still need to go in with our pokey tool and just pick out one or two pieces that have stubbornly stayed in. But that did a pretty good job of getting most of those out, didn't it? It's also good for getting all the little bits out of your die if you've got lots of bits stuck in your die. But actually the die appears to have come out relatively clean. Get a quick rub. And the other nice thing about these is you get these foam mats with them. And that does tend to hold on to the bits, or the majority of the bits, until you can get over the top of the bin and shake them off. So that looks as if that's all come out. Can you see this? I don't know how well this is going to pick up. On this top bit just here, let's turn that foil over. You get this embossed piece just here, so this hasn't die cut, it's just embossed, and there is some sort of embossed detail in amongst the feathers as well. It's really pretty. So that's a lovely die. So there's our peacock. But what I thought I would do, let's see if the how the plan comes into action. I'm going to put some little dots of glue on the back of my peacock, and then I'm going to stick it to this foil, and then in a minute I will just fussy cut around the edge of it so that the foil shines through the holes, the detail in the die. So I'm going to put that down there for a minute and take that plate, that's fairly, give that a good press down. Now we have had a bit of a squidge out of the side, but we are going to cut that off anyway. So I'm going to leave that just a second so that that's nice and dry when I come to cut it out. And while we're waiting for that, I'm going to take some of these foliage pieces and a piece of some sort of oddments that I've got of the Pretty Peacock card. And let's die cut some of these. Run it through, then we'll run it back. And those three dies have popped out and left us our 3 pieces of leaves. Those are really incredibly narrow little stalks, aren't they, on those? Those are really detailed and delicate. Let's move this to one side. Again, I'll bring in my pokey tool end on my pick it up tool. Ooh, those are very delicate, aren't they? They're beautiful. And that one, not only is it, not only does it give you the outlines, but this one gives you sort of holes in the leaves as well. Oh, those are very lovely. Right, so we'll leave that to continue sticking just for a minute while we stick these down. Let's put it somewhere. I know I've got a snail because I've put a new refill in it today. So let's attach our frame with a bit of snail. then let's take my paper snips and let's just come round the outside. I'm not worrying about leaving a little bit of a foil border. In fact, I'm almost intentionally doing that so that I'm not having to, don't risk snipping into that beautiful detail on that die. So let's come round his head. And the snips are obviously fantastic for this job. And as always, when you're fussy cutting, you move the paper rather than the scissors. And round we come. Not actually sticking my tongue out, but I could be with the concentration. Not sticking my tongue out, but I do stop talking. So hum amongst yourselves. Okay. Well, yes, it looks quite pretty, doesn't it, with that foil underneath. And the nice thing about having backed that onto some foil means that we can now just double some dimensionals on the back. So I'm just using these edge pieces. Now there's a little one just there, that's perfect. Going up there. Have him so he almost looks like he's poking out of that frame. And then we'll put a little spots of glue on some of these. Ooh. Let's have this one with the, oh, that was a big blob of glue, wasn't it? And I will just take my finger and wipe some of that off. So this gives little Peacock something to be sitting on. We could have perhaps added in some of those flowers. We could come in with some of these little jewels. You could go completely mad with these and have all sorts coming on down there. Should we add a few little pink ones in amongst these leaves to almost look like little flowers? I'm just thinking, you really don't want a very wide piece of ribbon. So I'm just going to snip an edge. Of this reversible ribbon. And we'll tie that into a bow. We'll use a little glue dot on there. That's it. I wanted it to tuck just under that beak slightly. So there we have a very different card. Hello, Sarah. So that one is using that really beautiful detailed die cut, some of that foil behind it. So a very sort of glitzy, glamoury card, lots of sparkles and gems. Almost feels like it needs something around the edge, but I'm not sure what. I may come back at some point having tweaked that one. But for now, there's a couple more cards using that beautiful Peacock, Noble Peacock suite. So we've got our box that we made this afternoon with our shimmery feathers on, and some of that ribbon and some of that foil. We've got this card that where we've used these rest of these die cuts, and that's added in to our card that we cased on Monday, and the card that's currently one of the offerings at the Tesco group, to make a whole little host of peacock loveliness. So I hope you've enjoyed that. And if these peacocks are something that you are desperate to get hold of to add to your collection, then do look out for the links. I shall add a link. Whether I shall get that done before I head off to my bingo is another matter, but I shall add a link so that you'll be able to go straight to my online shop, and you'll be able to go straight to this suite and check out all the beautiful products that are there. If you haven't got a catalogue and you would like one, then do message me and I will make sure that that heads its way to you. And as I say, do check out the event pages and see what else is coming up in the near future, because it would be lovely to see you. Do say hello on the videos, do share it, and I will be back on Monday morning when we'll be playing with another whole set of products from the beautiful new catalogue. So have a lovely weekend.